Hello everyone. Razorblade Mango here. So, I just wanted to provide a quick little intro to this video that you're about to listen to or watch, which is the extended spoiler discussion of Marvel Spider-Man's story, which I did with Richard. What you're about to listen to was intended to be a part of a greater video. But unfortunately, as I explained in the last video, our schedules just didn't line up so we could complete this spoiler cast. So what I present today is just going to be mainly what we talked about that day that we recorded this, which is the story. And rather than scrapping it and starting all over again or waiting God knows how long until our schedules line up again to where we can record, I figured it was time to just say, look, this is what we have. The story is easily where we had the most things to say. Everything that I've said about all the other aspects of Marvel Spider-Man 2 is already out there in the last video. So this is going to be the spoilery stuff. So if you haven't played Marvel Spider-Man 2, don't watch this. Don't listen to this. But if you've played it to the completion, or you simply don't care about spoilers, this is going to be for you. It's going to end a little abruptly, and I'll just record a separate little outro just to kind of signify, hey, the video's done. Thank you all for watching, yada yada. So without further ado, here is the extended story discussion of Marvel Spider-Man 2 featuring Richard. Enjoy. All right, Richard, it's time. So let's talk about Marvel Spider-Man 2. And as always, here's Richard. Hello.
What up? It took us time to get this started, but we're
Yeah.
finally here.
Hey man, life happens.
No, yeah, absolutely.
So today we are here to talk about Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which is the latest game from Insomniac and published, of course, by Sony Interactive Entertainment, i.e. PlayStation. So this is just going to be a full-on spoiler-filled discussion of the game. So if you haven't played it, maybe don't watch this or listen to this. But if you have, and you've beaten it, you're in the right place. Or I guess even if you haven't played it but don't care about spoilers, here you go. This is it. But before that, as custom, we will just probably do like 5 minutes a piece to just talk about it spoiler free before we get into the nitty gritty of the game. So, Richard, please, 5 minutes, spoiler free impressions of Marvel Spider-Man 2. It is all yours, my man. Go for it.
All right, yeah, of course. So, I do really like how they expanded on New York quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the new suits. I
Yeah.
like the ability to switch between Peter and Miles. I mean, the combat's fun as always. I really like the Mysterio levels, the Mysterio missions. Those were probably the best ones. So I actually played a bit of the first one before the sequel came out because I never got to play the DLC when it
Oh,
came
really?
out.
Oh, wow.
No, I never did because I honestly forgot what happened. I think it was because I I think it was around the time when we got rid of our PS4, maybe. I don't remember. Oh wait, no, it definitely wasn't. I don't remember, but point is I just never touched it around that time until like
Mm.
very recently before Spider-Man 2 came out cuz I wanted to be updated on the story cuz I knew there was going to be stuff that probably carried on into Spider-Man 2 and obviously there was after playing it.
Sure.
There were some things I did miss when I got into Spider-Man 2. I do miss like some of Peter's older abilities from the first one because there were some pretty cool ones in the first one that the sequel didn't have. But I think the trade-off just for the Venom abilities that you get, I think that was a worthy trade-off. So, but other than that, I think that's all that I really have right now in terms of like what I liked. I mean, the story parts, I think we can get into later
Yeah,
because
we'll get into
that's where
those
like
later.
that's where we can where we know where most of the problems are.
How this always is, where you and I are able to talk about the most is the story and the writing, which. So the thing that I want to bounce off to begin this discussion, or this part of the discussion, is that I saw this article that came out around the time the game came out that was from IGN, and it was called, I have it written down, it was called Spider-Man 2 Proves PlayStation is Still the King of Story-Driven Games. Now,
Um,
I would personally not use Spider-Man 2 as evidence for PlayStation's alleged story mastery.
yes.
I don't think the article is good to begin with. I think it's a very weak article, but when it actually gets to the part of arguing using Spider-Man 2 as evidence for this thesis that PlayStation is still the king of story-driven games, it just says the most rudimentary things in that article about, oh, this, it's a story about sacrifice, and the facial animation is so good, and
And friendship.
it's and friendship, and it's like, oh my god, it's the most
No,
shallow points they could possibly bring up.
it's
Because
obvious. I mean, it's IGN. You know how they are. I feel like
I
that
know.
was just more like clickbait and just to like get like just to build up like organic social traffic
Sure.
in order to get people to in order to like I guess so the it can get relevancy.
Sure, but a bad article is a bad article. About
No, yeah.
a bad opinion piece is still a bad opinion piece.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because
Of course.
I don't understand why you would use Spider-Man 2 as the example. Your leading example for PlayStation. PlayStation is still the king of story-driven games. Like, really? Spider-Man 2?
God of War
Really?
had a better story.
Yes, Ragnarok had a much both God of War, the new God of War has had a much better story. And I think even the original Spider-Man and Miles Morales had better stories than this. Because the story in this game is not good.
I don't want to say it's not good. I want to say it's just I just felt it wasn't like very linear like it was with the first two because you know they was mostly focused on one character. This game's focused on two characters, but it always focused more on Peter for the most part. Like I just felt like Miles
Yes.
was getting like shadowed by
Yes.
Peter
There are
for the most part.
too many plot lines in this story. This is a game that falls into the classic sequel trap of focusing on way too much. And that just obliterates the pacing of the game, because I think pacing is probably the biggest problem in this game. And strangely enough, for all the complaints about the game being too short, I actually think it's too long. Like
Really?
the idea of a main story you can finish in like 15 to 20 hours. That's not my problem. The concept of a lean linear story is not my problem. But it's how Spider-Man 2 uses that time is what I have a problem with. Because where do I even start? There's so many different ways I could start. Um okay, so I think this game relies too much on bloat, designed to slow you down and artificially extend the length of the game. And I remember hearing something from Capcom's president maybe about a month ago, around the time Spider-Man 2 came out, actually. And the Capcom president said something along the lines of like, "Oh my god, the way we're making these games, it's getting too expensive. These linear games are too expensive to make." And then when I play a game like Spider-Man 2, which has a lot of bloat and unnecessary graphical detail and this like artificial extension of the length, my sympathy for video game companies crying about rising costs ends. because I think Spider-Man 2 is one of those games where they especially and PlayStation has done this too, where they complain about, oh, games are getting so expensive. Oh, it's so expensive just making these linear games. And then I play a game like Spider-Man 2 and I think to myself, if it's so expensive, why are you packing these games with so much unnecessary fluff and bloat? Did I really does this story really need a segment where you're literally picking up trash in Peter Parker's home? Did we really need a long section of Peter walking through a glorified science museum and fucking around with all these mini games? Do we really need a section of him pedaling his bicycle with Harry to the school and doing this long segment of fucking like flashbacks to high school, like, oh, I'm Spider-Man, oh, I'm sneaking through the school and all that? It's like, and I really especially did not need the bloat of those fucking goddamn MJ missions again. So that right there, all that fluff, that's maybe a good hour to hour and a half of the game that they could have cut away. And it would have made for a far more efficiently paced game. And it would have been that time that they had for those shitty ass parts of the game, the boring bloat, could have been better used for something that was actually fun for the game. Or, you know, maybe just make it short and don't spend so much goddamn money on the game. And there you go. You saved money and you made a better game. So what the fuck is all the complaining about when you guys put in so much unnecessary fluff and bloat? And also, and this has nothing to do with the story, but do these PlayStation games and then these big budget single player games, do these really need to be as expensive as they are in order to be fun?
No.
Do amazing graphics make a game fun? No. Yeah, exactly. So I again, my sympathy just dies when I play a game like Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And even for a good game like God of War Ragnarok, a very good game, that has quite a bit of bloat in it. That has that whole goddamn level that feels like an eternity, where you're hanging out with Angerboda, where you're fucking riding on her yak and picking fruit and collecting paint. And it's like, did this really need to be here? Did the millions of dollars that was spent to do this really need to be spent?
Yeah, that part was boring.
Exactly. So it's all this wasted money that then just bloats up the cost of the game. And another issue I have with the game too is that the writing is just so bland. And as I said, this is a typical Insomniac problem. And like I said in my Miles Morales video, the people at Insomniac, it's like the only way they seem to know how to write character interactions or characters growing is for two characters to sit in front of each other and just splooge out everything that they're thinking and feeling. It's almost like every conversation between a character has to be a therapy session. And there's no room for like subtlety or little facial tics or just unspoken things or anything like that. Rarely does that happen in this game. Every character just blaze out whatever they're thinking and feeling. And the people at Insomniac, they always bring into the writer's room the people that write the blandest drivel you could possibly imagine. It's like they're afraid of writing anything edgy or risky that might offend somebody. It's like they don't want a Kotaku article written about them or something.
Oh.
And it's like, dude, like, it's okay if you want to write something that has a little bit of an edge to it. That's the shit that's memorable, the stuff that's rough around the edges. We have a problem in this industry with writers. With the AAA video game industry has a big problem with writers.
Not just AAA. I think it's with any sort of entertainment right now.
I would say in the video game realm, it's specifically the AAA market. Because I can find better writing in a lot of indie games than I can here.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It's just that like we've gotten to that point like where I guess
it's corporatized.
Corporatized, and because like people are too scared to offend anyone, it's like
Yes.
we can't have anything like funny, entertaining. We can't have any good comedy anymore.
And you don't even necessarily need to be offensive for it to be good. That's not. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying Peter Parker needs to like whip his cock out and start making like crude fucking jokes. I'm not. I'm not saying that has to be the case. I'm saying there's a lack of cleverness to a lot of the writing at Insomniac. For instance, in the original Ratchet and Clank, Ratchet is kind of a dickhead. He treats Clank like shit so much of the time. He and Clank have this very 80s buddy cop kind of relationship to them. And then by the end of the story, when they actually are friends, it feels more earned. But in the remake and Rift Apart, it's like they're just friendly right off the bat, and Ratchet is the blandest, nicest fuckboy you could possibly imagine. He's just boring. Because again, they don't want to offend anybody, and they don't want to make Ratchet look bad because it might hurt the little baby kid's feelings about the little cuddy animated character. And it's like, fuck you. This is not Ratchet. This is like they took Ratchet, injected him, and then just like drained all the life out of the guy.
I mean, as I said, it's just the game isn't super linear. It's like I said, the story focuses more on Peter than Miles, and like I didn't see this with the Miles story, but a friend of mine told me that Miles' story is more on like it's like his stuff is like put to the side for the most part.
I would agree with that, definitely.
Other than that, in terms of story, that was really all the issues I had so far with the story.
Really?
Oh wait, no, no. I take that back.
Okay.
The parts with MJ.
That's literally my next bullet point in my document.
This is what doesn't make any sense to me. And how the fuck does MJ survive that army of symbiotes?
Yeah. Well,
like
it's
literally
her and her motorcycle.
Literally,
and her gun.
No. Literally. Peter. Okay, so Peter is trying to save her from the Scream symbiote. He saves her, and then afterwards, he tells her, "Oh, Miles is calling me. I gotta go." And then they say their goodbyes, and then in my head I'm like, "Aren't you?" I mean, there's a symbiote army taking over New York. I mean, and you're okay with leaving your girlfriend there? That doesn't make any sense. And then even in the final battle, while Peter and Miles are fighting against the Venom, you can see MJ, she's like next to the machine, and she's just shooting the symbiote.
Oh yeah,
with her gun. And
yeah.
In my head, I'm like, oh, yeah. That is bullshit. No, you could not have survived that many.
I hate
symbiotes.
That stupid gun.
That you could not have survived that many. And no, MJ couldn't even have survived even going into the symbiote nest. That is stupid. I'm pretty sure the symbiotes are smart enough.
The ironic thing about the MJ sections in this game is that the more Insomniac tries to make MJ look like a badass, and the fact that she can hold her own just makes me dislike her more. And it makes her more, I don't know, it makes her way less believable as a character to me when she's outrunning all these symbiotes on her fucking stupid ass motorcycle and her stupid silver sable gun. And it's just so, it's all of those. I think those MJ sections are terrible. I didn't know it was possible, but I thought it was worse in this game than the last one.
I mean, to be fair, I kind of found it fun with the last one, but at the same time, like I was like, I'm kind of well aware that
one greatly annoyed me because the big symbiote kept like killing me in one shot.
Oh, I didn't die at all that many
I did.
times.
I thought that was because her movements were like so fucking slow, and then there's a bit where like what annoyed me, I don't know if it was a bug, it might have been a bug, but every time the big guy got near me and he like did an attack, he wouldn't be near me and he wouldn't hit MJ, but MJ would still die anyway. Yeah, and I was like, what the fuck? What just happened?
I don't think I remember that happening. I might have only died like maybe once or twice, but still. But even just talking about this, like the idea of her surviving against a big ass symbiote, it's stupid.
It's not just that, it's all her sections, they just totally ruin the pacing of the game. Because you're getting into the rhythm of being Spider-Man, and then it just pulls you out numerous times to play a fucking terrible third-person shooter or a stupid
Resident Evil,
stealth section.
Resident Evil. That
No,
last section was Resident Evil.
that was like Resident Evil if Resident Evil sucked. That was like a Resident Evil 6 moment with that stupid ass gun, and she's shooting all the enemies, and then the enemies kill you in one hit if they get near you, and it's like, dude, just. And I found out that was a bug because I saw one of the patch notes that Insomniac released recently that said, "Oh, fixed an issue where MJ would die in one hit to the symbiotes." And I'm like, okay, so that was a bug because I had that problem during the finale of the game. And like I would die in like one hit from the symbiotes. And I was like, this is bullshit. This is stupid. So annoying.
Also, like, why did it take MJ that long to get like I guess a web shooter into her gun when I feel like wouldn't it have been smart enough for Peter to just put it in there
Because
to begin with?
because it's a fucking video game. They have to. It's. I was less annoyed with that because it's just video game logic, but I was more annoyed with just because again, like they're trying really hard to make me like MJ and think, wow, MJ is such a capable person. She doesn't need Spider-Man. She's a powerful, strong, independent woman. And I'm like, no, she just looks dumb. She just looks dumb shooting this stupid gun and riding her stupid motorcycle. And all these sections are just stupid. And then even MJ as a character, this whole game just annoyed me because I just found her to have way less spark compared to the first game. Because she was one of my favorite parts in the first game. Even with her stupid stealth sections, I thought she was a really good character. No, I thought she and Spider-Man had a really great chemistry in that game. And then you get to this one, and it's like, what happened? Because she has like nothing to do outside of just being a backdrop character, and then the occasional sections where she's either sneaking around or shooting a gun at the symbiote army.
Or just stunning Kraven's people.
That's another one. That's, oh my god. And then that whole section where you're sneaking into the zoo. Richard, couldn't that have just been a cutscene where she gets trapped in the zoo and finds Connors? That could have just been like a 1 minute cutscene.
That would have been, to be fair, yeah, that would have been much better.
But
honestly, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why the fuck would MJ go in by herself with someone that has powers or abilities?
Because she's a strong, independent woman. Because this is the mindset that Insomniac has, where they just like push past the bounds of logic and believability in order to justify MJ as her own character, which I thought they did a good enough job in the first one already. If they had just taken away those stupid missions, and I keep saying they're stupid, but they're stupid. They lack intelligence. They ruin the pacing. There's no reason for them to be here other than to just be like, oh, look at MJ. Isn't she strong? Isn't she powerful? It's like, no, she's kind of an idiot. So the relationship between her and Peter in this game, it felt so underdeveloped because from what was happening in the beginning, I assumed that what was going to happen is that their relationship would really be put to the test. And with Peter becoming more influenced by the suit and becoming more of a dickhead, that relationship would, it would be pushed to its limits. But we never really got that. We never really got that moment where it felt like they were on the verge of breaking up or that whole relationship being destroyed. The worst it ever got was just MJ writing a mean article about Peter, and then Peter getting like, "You bitch, I don't need you. You're not the hero," and just acting like a total bitch and just leaving the house. There's no, it sounds fucked up, but I would have killed for a moment where Peter like loses it and actually like hits her or something like that. Because doesn't he do that in Spider-Man 3, where he like
he
accidentally
does.
he actually slaps MJ or something like that?
Yeah, he does.
Insomniac would never do this because they would get a bunch of fucking articles written about them and how they're promoting violence against women or something. But that to me is an oh shit moment. That to me is like, oh shit, Peter just went way too far with his influence under the symbiote suit. But in this game, it's like the worst it ever gets is just, I wrote this article about you being a douchebag, but you didn't pay attention to it because you were knocked out, and I was trying to get you to read it last night. And then he goes, no, bitch, you're not the hero, fuck you, and he just leaves. And that's the worst it ever gets, and I'm like, that's all? That's the only kind of tension your relationship is getting, or what? That's it? And then like in like a few scenes later, he then gets the suit taken away from, or he rips the suit off after he fights Miles, and that's the end of that. And then he and MJ have that fucking, again, elongated therapy session when she's under the influence of Scream. It's like, again, it's not all Insomniac knows how to do is just these like big moments of characters just spouting their bullshit at each other. They don't understand subtle character interactions. They don't understand understated things being said or things not being said, like powerful things. A picture is worth 1,000 words. You can say a lot with just a look. And it's something that Insomniac's writers just do not understand. They don't understand that kind of visual storytelling. Speaking of Peter, I don't know about you, but the more time has gone by, the more I think that was one of the lamest versions of symbiote Peter I've ever seen. All he really is just grumpy. That's all he really is. He's just grumpy. And he's just like, Miles, he went without me. He's just useless. Or MJ, it's like, MJ, you wrote a mean story about me. Look at all these people. Oh, Harry, no, you don't need the suit back. I need it because I'm the hero. And it's like, oh my god, can you stop being a fucking, like, what isn't the symbiote suit? Like, I thought we were gonna get something that was far more darker or daring or something, where
I was expecting at least Peter to like at least almost kill someone like in the animated series.
Yeah.
But we didn't even get there.
Well,
to be fair, the Venom suit is still done the best in the animated series, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I think the 1990s one, to be specific. That's the best version of Venom. If you want to look outside of the comics, that's the best version of Venom.
Yeah. Again, this is where Insomniac is afraid to really go to some dark places, because you would think that the story would actually be risky and dark, with this not only being the second part of the trilogy, which, you know, historically the second part of a trilogy is always the darkest, but the I think it was the creative director, he specifically said that this is our Empire Strikes Back. And no, that's not at all what this is. There ain't no like Empire Strikes Back level of darkness going on in this game. There's nothing like that. It's all just very safe. And then in the moment where it could have done something interesting with Harry possibly dying, they just go, Miles just goes, Peter, let me try this, and then he shocks him. And yeah, Harry's still in a coma, but he's alive and he doesn't die. So it's like, okay.
I thought he would die.
Yeah, I was hoping he would die because I didn't like him.
I didn't mind him.
Really? Oh no. See,
I didn't notice anything wrong with him personally, but
I just didn't buy their relationship. I did not believe the relationship between Peter and Harry.
Well, to be fair, this is like, I think it's because, like, you know, they know that, like, we've been told the story of Spider-Man so many times, so it's like we're supposed to know that him and Harry are best friends, I guess.
But they also do that whole section in the game where they make you play the high school shenanigans.
Oh yeah,
between Harry and Peter, and then they give you the whole drawn out stealth section. They have the bit where Peter sees Harry react to his mom's being told that his mom is dead, and I mean, they're trying to set up the groundwork in it, but it's a lot of telling me that they're friends rather than actually making me believe it. By the time it gets to that point at the end where, Spider-Man and Venom, again, they're having their big elongated therapy session while they're fighting, and like Peter's like trying to plead with Harry to remember their years of friendship. I just didn't care. I felt almost nothing. And I compare that to the ending of, like Ghost of Tsushima with Jin and Lord Sakai dueling in the finale. And like when they're talking to each other, that actually has weight because it's been developed so well. Their relationship has been developed so well during the game. By that point, when it reaches that emotional climax, it's extremely powerful because the game has done a great job of endearing you to both Jin and Lord Sakai, and seeing, where, to me at least, seeing the conflicting points and the conflict between the two. But with Spider-Man and Venom, it's like, okay, it's Harry, again, he's like, oh, you didn't care about me. Oh, you shouldn't have done some shit. Oh, it's again, just...
You brought up the fight. There was one thing I wanted to bring up. How the fuck is Peter able to suck the life energy out of Venom? I don't know how you reacted, but remember when he was talking to Connors and Connors told him, oh, part of the symbiote might be left in it's probably in you. And I was like, and then finally he gets the anti-Venom suit.
Oh god.
And
yeah.
And I'm just like, huh?
Well, they had to find a way to, and this is something that I mentioned when Clay, you and I talked about the Spider-Man footage we saw at the showcase earlier this year. The thing that I mentioned is that they're going to have to find a way in the story to explain why Peter can have these powers during the post game. They're going to have to explain it because there's no way they were going to allow you to use these symbiote powers and then take them away. So we had to have this long section where... This is another thing. This is one of my big pet peeves with the game, is that it has multiple sections where we have to either be under the influence of a hallucinogenic or be in somebody's mind in order to get character development. And it's such an old, tired trope that I'm sick to death of seeing it. I'm tired of being hit with Scorpion's venom, so we have to hallucinate and so that's how they establish Miles's fears. I'm sick to death of Miles going into Mr. Negative's head or Mr. Negative going to his head and thus learning about Miles' insecurities and getting character development there. And then we have to get into Peter's head and find out his insecurities and have Miles and Mr. Negative talk it out. It's like this is so fucking lazy and so dumb. I hate this. It's like every developer, when they saw how Batman Arkham Asylum did the Scarecrow missions, they're like, oh, we have to have a segment like that too, where we're in the main character's head and we see our own insecurities and everything. We have to have a section like that, because it's like, no, you don't. You know why it worked in Batman Arkham Asylum? Because it was Scarecrow and because it came out of fucking nowhere. That's why it worked. And because it broke up the action in the game. It was really good pacing. It added to the story. Going into Peter's head, getting Miles to hallucinate again, going into Miles' head, that does nothing. That's a lazy writer's tool to develop these characters. And I put develop in quotes because it's the obvious fucking thing that could have happened with these characters. Oh, Miles thinks, oh my god, Miles thinks his dad's a failure? Oh no, my dad would never think that. I'm better than that. Oh, really? Really, you don't think so? Really? Oh my god, my friends don't like me? Oh, it's like, wait a minute, that's not true. They like me. It's like, yeah, no shit they like you, dude. Like, what the fuck? What was the whole point of all this shit? Oh, look, the whole core of Peter's insecurities is the fact that he let MJ die. Or, sorry, he let Aunt May die. Wow, I could not have seen that coming. How obvious.
Okay, so this is the part where my coworker where my coworker was telling me. Part when I said like how Peter like sucks the life energy out of Venom, he literally
Oh,
he told me that was
thank you.
stupid.
That was my original point, but I will let you. I'll let you.
Yeah, yeah, he told me that was stupid because like he understands the anti-venom suits like, supposed to be used for good,
Mhm.
but even then that doesn't make any sense. And he literally said they literally gave Peter his own version of Miles's venom shock.
Yes, they
Like
do.
that's literally what he told me. And
Yes.
I'm like, and then he shows me the video, and I'm like, oh yeah. And I tell him, yep, this does not make any sense. Like, how the fuck does a symbiote stay in you once you? I'm sorry, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, it has to be there in order to justify the reasoning why you keep those symbiote powers in the post game. So they have to have this long section where Miles and Mr. Negative go inside Peter's mind to then make it so Mr. Negative's powers infuse with the symbiote, thus giving Peter the anti-venom suit, I guess.
Oh,
And then that way they can go,
I didn't
look,
notice.
see? Well, then they go, that look, see? Now you can keep the powers at the end of the
I didn't.
game. Now it
I
makes
didn't.
sense. And I'm like,
I didn't notice that. I didn't notice that part. To be honest, I didn't notice that. That's what was happening
yeah,
in
well, that's the whole
Redfern.
reason that Mr. Negative goes inside his mind, is that in order they pull this like narrative justification out of their ass so you can keep the Venom powers, which again is exactly what I said they were going to do back when they showed the gameplay in the showcase. I predicted multiple things that I mostly got right. And the
I would
only
have.
thing that I did not get right was that Harry would die. And I was hoping Harry actually would die because that would have been more interesting than what we
I,
ended
I,
up with.
I was hoping they were gonna make Venom playable. I mean, there was that little section. Like I thought, okay, maybe Venom's gonna be playable again at some point, and no. I think that would have made more sense. At least I don't know, being able to like switch to Venom, probably like like them hiding a,
No.
a secret character.
Well, that would have
That
been.
would-
That would have happened if this was made in the PS2 era, definitely. But because I don't know, it's. I was just glad they had that one segment where you get to play as Venom because I was really nervous when we got to that point of Venom going berserk. I thought to myself, are they really going to skip over the one character that I actually want to play as that isn't Spider-Man? Really? We're going to play as MJ and young Peter, but we aren't going to get to play as Venom? Are you serious? And then right when I had that thought, it let me control Venom, and I went, oh my god, here we go. And that whole part, that and the Sandman fight in the beginning, those were the highlights of the game for
Oh
me.
yes,
I
yes. No,
I loved that Venom part. That was
that's it.
awesome.
And then you see the part where he eats a fucking Craven.
That was cool. That was far bloodier than I thought it was gonna
I
be.
didn't think they would go for that, and because
No.
how Marvel's been over these recent
Yes.
years.
Well, especially Insomniac. Yeah.
And then I was like, oh shit. The part when they killed Scorpion, I was like, oh fuck, Craven's really on the hunt. And then you get to,
Mhm.
they don't show it, but then you go to his base, and then it
Oh
turns out
yeah.
he killed the entire Sinister Six
Yeah.
already, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? I'm
See,
like,
this is the thing that bothers me about Craven because I think Craven is just okay, but and the reason for that is what I found hilarious is that he keeps talking about hunting down the strongest people, but he keeps sending his lackeys to attack us. It's like, if you really want to hunt down the strongest people, why aren't you doing this on your own, or at least with like a significantly smaller army? I mean, you could pick out the best goons in your people and bring them to New York. But Craven, he's just kind of content to just let his army attack his prey, and then only at the last moment does he intervene. I don't get it.
that, okay, yeah, you do. I didn't think about that, but you do make a point.
I don't
Because
get it. I kept thinking that during the game when they just kept sending these hordes of Craven's men after me, and I'm like, why isn't Craven coming to fight me himself? Like, he does in select instances, but it's like, okay, you've already just sent your army after me. It's like, yeah, no shit, I'm tired, dude. And then the example that I can think of where I think a game that actually did this better was in there's this old Capcom game called Asura's Wrath, and one of the characters that you have to fight in that game, he wants you at your strongest in order to defeat you. He takes the main character to a bath filled with like beautiful women, and he has them drink sake so he could relax and rest up and get stronger, just so he can then fight him at his peak and still beat him and feel good about that. Kraven, it's like Kraven doesn't seem to care about fighting his prey at their absolute best. He always seems to have these like dirty tricks and sends his lackeys to wear them down. It's like, why? If you're this ultimate hunter, why are you doing this? I don't understand.
Yeah, that I can see where you're getting at. Because even in the animated series, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember too much, but he was hunting. But most of the time, I think he was just a thief. But still, I mean, he was doing stuff on his own. He wasn't
Yeah.
like relying on anyone.
Well, and then the story is obviously a take on, you know, the famous Kraven's Last Hunt, and in that story, he doesn't have this massive army coming after Spider-Man. Like he doesn't kill Spider-Man, but he beats Spider-Man on his own practically, and then that's when he's like, I am satisfied, and he kills himself. But in this game, it's just constantly this massive army being sent at you, and all these guys dressed up in bear costumes, and it's like, I really is Kraven really interested in being the top dog here? Because it seems like he's more than okay just letting his guys kill you or whatever.
To be fair, I think Craven would have done better if he was just by himself.
Yes, I mean, and I get that. Again, this is where the problem with the video game logic comes in, where video game logic dictates that the main villain has to have a massive army, even when it doesn't really make much sense for the character. I think I don't think they did a great job of establishing Kraven as this like massive threat. I think you know, you see him stab and kill Scorpion, sure, but you don't. It's like almost all the other members of the Sinister Six are taken out off screen. So it's like, oh, okay, so he killed these other guys. I would have liked to have seen that. And then actually, I was talking to a friend of the channel, Ian Waffles, about this, and one idea that he brought up that I actually quite liked was, instead of the fight between Peter and Kraven at the zoo taking place in a cutscene, what about if you play as Peter and you're fighting Kraven, but Kraven is an unwinnable boss fight, where he just blasts your shit. And that way, like, you as a player, you understand how powerful Kraven is because he is able to physically beat you in a boss fight. Like, it's impossible. And you can animate it to where all the different gadgets are being used against Kraven and it doesn't work. So that's why Peter using the symbiote suit to take him down makes more sense, because that's something that Kraven can't compete against. He can beat normal Spider-Man, but instead of doing that, where they design an unwinnable boss fight against Kraven, they have you play as MJ for 15 to 20 minutes in this elongated stealth section that sucks fucking ass. You see what I mean about the game using its resources in incorrect ways, in ways that don't really help the pacing or the story.
Now that you're bringing all this up, it's like, shouldn't they just have like cut the things that you think is unnecessary?
Yes.
And then just save that just for, like, I don't know,
cool moments.
More like, I was gonna say DLC afterwards.
I don't even need DLC.
I don't like, obviously I don't need DLC, but
yeah, I'd be fine if they never released DLC for this.
No, I'd be fine. I don't think it needs DLC.
No, it doesn't.
But they already teased it. Supposedly Daredevil.
No, that's been disproven. That they're not doing that.
Okay.
But it's just, there's just all these sections in the game that, and I really do wonder if they had issues behind the scenes with designing the story and writing it and having to rewrite certain sections of it, because it's such like a sloppily paced game that I really do wonder how much of this was planned in advance, because this whole game, as far as pacing, as far as writing and character development, it just feels sloppy. It just feels off to me. It's not at all like the first one. And even then, I have my problems with the first one. I have my issues with Miles Morales' story, but those are way better stories, way better told compared to this game. Again, there's just nothing in this story that really surprised me. Like, I've known for ages that Harry was going to be Venom. I've known for ages that Norman would become the Green Goblin in the third game. And then as far as, like, even the post-credits stuff, it's like, oh, okay, Doc Ock will be back. Okay, that was pretty obvious. And then, like, Silk? Who? Like, I was so confused when that cutscene popped up, where Rio is introducing Miles to her new boyfriend or whatever, and then the guy brings in his daughter, and it's like,
yeah, Cindy Moon. Yeah,
I was like, who? I don't know who the fuck this is. I don't care. I know now who it is, but I was just like, I don't know who the hell this is, and I don't care.
My friend told me that in the comics, she has a like she likes Peter because the thing that they have in common is that she got bit by the same spider.
That's
that
right.
Peter
I remember reading that.
And then I guess because she has a thing for him, like actually no, let me go back a little bit. It's like she wants to be with him, but she knows she can't because he's with MJ. But in the comics, still, like, I don't know how, but
I guess
gonna
do that in the game.
They end up hooking up in the comics.
Oh God!
They end up hooking up in the comics, and and when I heard that, I'm like, what?
Thankfully, they won't do that I know they won't do that in the game. Thank God.
At least, I guess
they're not going to. There's no way.
They're not gonna make them hook up. No,
there's no way.
No, they won't. In all honesty, also, like, I don't have a problem with them taking inspiration from other from other stories that have been told in the comics.
Always do.
But it doesn't hurt to also just try to make your own original as well.
I don't know. I don't know if Insomniac really has the chops to make an iconic, unique Spider-Man story. I don't know.
I mean, I still find the game fun, personally.
No, I find it fun in most respects. I just think as far as lasting impression, it really doesn't have anything. That's what I mean by a condom game.
And
it's disposable.
Okay. That makes sense.
It's nothing that really sticks with me, because even though I still like this game overall more than the first one, I remember the first one a lot more because I feel like it did more interesting things with its story than this game does.
You're not wrong. I was actually questioning the other day if the first one had a better story than this one.
I think just the fact that they had the balls to kill Aunt May at the end of it and have it be a sacrifice that Peter has to make. And it's like you can see in that moment you talk about a moment where it really hits like damn well. That moment when he is deciding between saving Aunt May and saving the city is a really like heart-wrenching moment because it's an impossible choice. And you can tell that it's tearing his guts out to make this decision. There's nothing like that in this game. And the moment they could have done that with Harry dying, they take that away, and Miles immediately just walks up and is like, "Oh, look, give me a shot," and then he just brings him back to life. And yeah, he's a drooling vegetable at this point, but he did not die. The big theme at the end of these games is always sacrifice. You always have, Peter having to sacrifice Aunt May, Finn having to sacrifice herself at the end of Spider-Man Miles Morales to make up for what she's done in order to save New York. Those things mean something, but they just deflate all of that in 2 when they just give you the way out of like, oh, well, Harry's technically alive, but he's a drooling vegetable at this point, but he's still alive. And that's where the conversation ends. So thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Richard, for joining me for this conversation. Let me know in the comments what you thought about Marvel Spider-Man 2's story, what your issues with it were. And as always, I am Razorblade Mango. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later. Bye.